What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Movie Emporium's movie review of The Matrix Resurrections. This film is, of course, directed by Lana Wachowski. Now, before we begin, if you like this video, awesome, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next. If you like any of the videos, awesome, hit that like button, as well as commenting below on any video that you watch, including this one. So just to let you know, non-spoiler review, I will do a spoiler review with a special guest later on, so just be aware that I will keep this as non-spoiler as possible, to not spoil it for anybody who wants to see this movie. So The Matrix Resurrections is of course releasing 18 years after The Matrix Revolutions. As we know, Neo and Trinity died in that film, and here we have a film that brings back, of course, Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne playing Neo, Thomas Anderson, and of course Trinity. And to give why they're actually in this movie and what exactly is going on with their characters would be a spoiler, so I won't talk about it. But let's just say that Neo has a particular reason for what he's doing, why he's in this, why we are seeing past footage of the original trilogy. Of course, he's seeing a therapist who's played by, of course, Neil Patrick Harris. And then he also has a boss who's played by Jonathan Groff, who become important characters in the movie. But we also have Trinity, who seems to not remember Neo, but she has some inkling of maybe who he is. And then we get into the material of new characters. So we have Bugs, who's played by Jessica Henwick. We have a character who's played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, and some other characters that kind of pop up in here and there. And basically, this is a movie that is really hard to talk about in a non-spoiler sense, but we'll just say there's this particular sense for what this movie's trying to do. There's a particular sense for what this movie's trying to say. And this is very much a Wachowski film, so they have a lot to say about society and about everything going on in the society. But once again, can't really talk about it, but this is definitely a Matrix film with a lot of situations. And so with that said, this is a movie that I've been kind of anticipating ever since I saw the first trailer. I was a little bit kind of borderline about how I felt about this being a new chapter in the Matrix, universe. I felt that it kind of wrapped up pretty sourly, but I didn't think it needed a new movie. I do feel that the Wachowskis have a lot to say, especially apparently Lana Wachowski. So I was going to give the benefit of the doubt because, the visuals and the fidelity and how much of a revolutionary directors they both were, it made me feel that maybe they could bring something, or at least Lana Wachowski could bring something new to the table. But there's been some kind of behind the scenes stuff. Lily Wachowski decided that she was going to step away. She didn't really want to deal with it. She didn't feel like this was a good idea. Lana Wachowski's like, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I love the behind the scenes stuff. And then the movie comes out, and of course the reviews from the critics start coming out in like Twitter form and stuff like that. Let's just say that they were pretty mixed. Some people really liked it, some people didn't like it, some people were middle of the road. So I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens. It's 2.5 hours long, which is way too long for a movie, especially, for something that was like 2 hours and 10 minutes when it originally came out as The Matrix. And so I hate to say, I absolutely hated this movie, to be fairly honest. And I'm not going to get into a screaming match about why I truly hated it. Just know that it's a movie with a lot to say. It's a movie with a lot of stuff to say about today's society. But the problem with this movie, to be fairly honest, is not the boldness that it does and not the ambition that it has, because it really does try to be like the original Matrix. But it does it with such kind of chaotic nature, and just everything about it starts falling apart pretty quickly. And there's stuff in this story that doesn't really make any sense, and it's very convoluted. And the reason Carrie-Anne and Keanu Reeves are in this film, it makes it feel like it's shoehorned in. They're bringing Carrie-Anne and Keanu Reeves back into the fold. The ideas that are being presented, while kind of unique, are still just not very well presented. It feels like Lana Wachowski hasn't learned anything from the original Matrix trilogy. And I just don't feel like this movie just works on any level. I think the action is pretty awful. It's very, I keep going back to convoluted, but it doesn't have any rhythm. It doesn't have any uniqueness. It's trying to do too much. It's very confusing when it's being presented. And that's also the story's problem, is it's just very confusing. There's a lot of exposition that goes on that just keeps going on and on and on. I mean, you could have shaved 30 minutes out of this movie of the exposition and probably made a decent film, but it's just like, I didn't care. I didn't care about any of these characters. I didn't care about any of the new characters. They're not well developed. You know, Jessica Henwick is a very fantastic actress, and she's just not really given much to do. The concepts of Yahya Abdul-Mateen's character is just, it has some really interesting ideas and concepts, but it's just not well executed. There's a lot of trying to go back to, I want to say nostalgia, but it doesn't work very well. And coming off the heels of like Spider-Man No Way Home, which used nostalgia to a perfect sense, this just feels like it's trying to take everything that we love about the Matrix, trying to turn it on its head, and it just doesn't fully develop into an interesting project. And I was just completely kind of saddened and just kind of, I want to say, frustrated and flustered, and I felt like just the whole movie just was trying to do something cool and just didn't know how to connect and kind of complete that coolness. And like I said, when you have characters played by Jonathan Groff and of course Neil Patrick Harris, and you feel like their characters are so stupid and comic and, you know, kind of cartoon characters, I don't know. There's some things in here that are kind of interesting and kind of trying to be unique, but it just doesn't work. It just feels so haphazardly done and half-hearted, and really feels like that, you know, it's trying to belt you in the face with some, you know, meta commentary, and it just doesn't do it very well. And then, you know, some other people show off, some famous actors and actresses, and then, you know, the idea of what Neo is in this movie and Thomas Anderson, what their whole particular purpose is and how it kind of plays out. We'll talk about that in spoiler review, but I feel like this movie had so much potential and just didn't know how to deliver on it. That's the honest truth. I understand why Lily Wachowski didn't want to come back. I feel like she was very much in the right when she was telling that this film didn't need to happen. And for a fourth film in a franchise that kind of ended on a sour note, this film doesn't help in any of the slightest. So that's my personal opinion. Like I said, I know a bunch of people who like this film. I know a bunch of people who hated this film. I really am in the hate. Whether this will be in my top 10 worst of the year, that's still up to debate. But overall, I just was completely disappointed, especially for my anticipation for this film. Like I said, even the score is just kind of not that great. So it's kind of a misfire. It's just a little sad, and I don't like where it was headed. So that's my kind of non-spoiler take on The Matrix Resurrections. I wish I had liked it. I hope you guys like it if you do watch it. But overall, just didn't care for it. So anyways, that'll do it. That'll be my take on the non-spoiler version of The Matrix Resurrections. Thank you so much for watching. Comments below. Are you looking forward to this film? Did you see this film? What was your overall take on it? Otherwise, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like any videos, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.